Hey guys, it's Luca from foilmagiccards.com, and today I'm going to talk about what is the deal with old frame foils. So, old frame foils is kind of what we specialize in. In my opinion, it's the best investment you can make if you're investing in magic cards. But, what are they? What's the deal with them? So this video is going to be kind of an overview on that. So, here I've got kind of like a little chart, and it talks about the different sets that had old frame foils. So starting from Urza's Legacy, it ends at Scourge, starting from February 1999 and ending in May 2003. Um, Real quick, I'll just show you kind of like what they look like visually. So this is what the old frame foils look like visually. These are all graded. They don't necessarily have to be graded. But you have the foiling on the outside of the card, which is why they're called like old border or old frame foils. Sometimes they're also called old school foils. Um, you also have this shooting star here at the bottom, and yeah, you basically with the newer foils, mostly the foil is noticed in the picture area, but here you don't really see any foiling in the picture. You kind of just see it in the border. So that's what these things kind of look like visually. And Wizards has kind of gone back to this style in certain promotional cards, certain special cards. They also did it in like Time Spiral. But this is basically what they look like for those who are not aware. So I wanted to say that we scrape data from TCGPlayer. This data is about a month old, so take it with a grain of salt. But basically, what I like to look at is I like to look at all the rares in a particular set, and I like to see how many rares are available in near mint. And I also look at what is the average near mint price. Um, and for near mint price, I probably calculate it differently than most places. If you looked at Goldfish or even TCGPlayer's market price, I calculate the near mint price by looking at the lowest listing available, because to me that's a much more accurate representation of market price, as opposed to, I think, a lot of different websites, they kind of calculate the near mint price by taking the average of all the listings. But you run into trouble because sometimes you have one listed for $1,000 and that gets calculated into the average. So when I do my scraping and I try to find the near mint price of a given card, I just look at the lowest listing available at near mint. So I put a little bit more data into this chart too. I have the number of rares per set. So for example, Urza's Legacy has 44 rares in it, but a set like Mercadian Mask has 110 rares in it. Why does that matter? It matters because if a set has more rares in it, it's going to be holding all else equal, more difficult to find each specific rare, right? Like if you wanted to find a foil rare of a specific Mercadian Mask card, you'd have to open more boxes than you would if you were going to open boxes of Urza's Legacy. So that's something to keep in mind. Although you want to know that basically no one really knows what the print runs are for these sets, which is why I turn to web scraping and looking at the number of cards that are available on TCG. That's kind of my proxy for understanding the print runs, because I don't think anyone really has a good way of looking at these print runs. Another important information piece of data is what are the foil odds. So I think nowadays foil odds like 1 in 40 or something, but when Wizards started making foils, it was 1 in every 100 cards on average were foil. So you'd have to open, I don't know, maybe like 7 packs to find a foil, 6 or 7 packs. Uh, at Torment, they changed this to 1 in 70. So now in those old frame sets, Torment, Judgment, Onslaught, Legion, Scourge, you're actually more likely to find a foil than you were in the older sets. Uh, so that's another thing to keep in mind. Um, you could have a set like Torment where you've got many fewer rares, 44 rares, and lower foil odds, compared to a set like Mercadian Masks where you have 110 rares and higher foil odds, and you would expect it to be a lot harder to find a foil rare from Mercadian Masks than from Torment, assuming they had the same print runs. Um, And so that's kind of, what this data is about. We're basically thinking about how difficult is it to find these foil rares from the different sets. Um, I'll just give kind of my 2 cents. Like, if you're like, hey, Luca, this is a bunch of information. How do I actually use this? I think kind of like my basic advice would be I've noticed that in Nemesis Prophecy and Mercadian Mass, so in Mercadian Mass block, there seems to be a much lower supply. Um, and the prices are also kind of, I think the prices are reasonable. So the average prices are between $70 and $100 per rare, per foil rare near mint in those sets. And you can find many of the kind of the crap rares or the worst rares in those sets for like 30, $40, $20. So that's kind of my recommendation in general. But yeah, so that's kind of an overview. What are old frame foils? These are the sets that they're from. These are the dates, the number of rares, and the odds. And in general, the supply is extremely low, and we'll keep monitoring the supply to see what happens. Does it keep going lower, or will the market get flooded with more? In my opinion, this supply is going to keep going down, and it is already extremely, extremely low. Like even if you take the like two of the highest sets here, like 7.5 cards available near mint, that's still really low. Like if you compare this to a lot of reserve list cards, there's like hundreds of cards available, right, at near mint. So, or at least 50, 100 uh, cards available near mint. So these are obviously very difficult cards to find, and in my opinion, that means they're going to appreciate a lot in value moving forward. So yeah, that's the whole video. I don't want to ramble on too much. I'm Luca from foilmagiccards.com, and I hope this video was helpful, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.